Hey everyone, it's Jane, and today I'm sharing my thoughts on the Gilmore Girls revival. So I wanted to make this video discussing my thoughts and feelings and opinions about Gilmore Girls A Year in the Life because, oh, do I have thoughts and feelings and opinions. I just want to preface this by saying that growing up, I was a huge Gilmore Girl fan. Like, I would watch every new episode when it came out each week. I would marathon them during the summer, and I would watch every single episode. It was ridiculous. But now, as I'm a bit older and in my 20s, I definitely don't enjoy the show quite as much. I think that now that I've kind of had some time to grow and develop myself as a person, I'm realizing that some of the things I liked about the series really bother me now as an adult, especially some of the characters and their attitudes and decisions that they make. So I went into A Year in the Life with some trepidation. I was no longer considering myself a die-hard Gilmore Girls fan, even though I've seen every episode multiple times. But I was still really intrigued to see what was going to happen with these characters, and of course just that feeling of returning to Stars Hollow. I know that there are a lot of people who have watched A Year in the Life and they loved it, they thought it was amazing, they can't fault it for anything. I'm not one of those people. I want to start off by discussing my favorite parts of the revival, what I think are the huge pros of these 4 episodes, and I'm going to kick things off with the most important part of it all, Paris Geller. I adore Paris Geller. She was probably my favorite character in the original run of Gilmore Girls, and she did not disappoint in the revival. I just love her so very much. And the scene with Paris and Rory in the bathroom just absolutely killed me. Like, this is probably my favorite image of the entire revival. It was just so perfect. I love Paris, and I love that she's just a kick-ass, badass professional lady who's getting shit done. I do hope that she and Doyle reconcile because I loved them so much in the original series. But I just love Paris. She's definitely like the best part of the entire revival for me. I wish we had gotten more Paris. That's something I feel about a lot of characters. I just wish we had gotten more than like 5 seconds. My second favorite part of the revival is definitely Emily Gilmore. I mean, the things that she goes through in the revival and the character growth and just everything that you see her deal with in the revival was amazing. So we see her, you know, grieving for Richard and going through all of that, which was just heartbreaking. And where she ends up at the end of the last episode, it was just wonderful to see her go through that. And her scene at the DAR when she just goes, bullshit, it was amazing. I loved it so much. Like, just seeing Emily Gilmore rip on those DAR ladies and hand it to all of them was amazing. I also really loved when she dragged Lorelai after Richard's funeral because I think it was deserved, just saying. But yeah, I love Emily Gilmore, and I always appreciated her during the original run of the show, but I think in the revival, she was my favorite Gilmore, and her story was absolutely my favorite as well. And I just have all of this newfound love and appreciation for Emily because she's just a bamf. Another thing that I really loved is that we got some major resolution for Lorelai and Luke. I mean, my god, it has been so many years of pining and back and forth, and just the will they won't they of it all was just getting really grating for me. And so that they finally ended up in a good place. They have gotten married at the very end of this entire thing, and I'm happy for them, and I hope that everything is good now. I think it was important for Lorelai to kind of come to the realizations she came to over the course of the revival. And then the final favorite that I want to highlight in the revival is Jess in all of his brief but buff glory. Jess has always been one of my favorite characters. I know that people just hate on him so much in the original series, but I have always loved Jess. I was always Team Jess. And so getting to see him again in the revival was amazing. I wish that we would have gotten more time with him because he's there in basically 2 scenes, which is just ridiculous. I didn't like that at all. But he seems to really have his shit together and like doing well for himself as an adult. So good for Jess. Very happy for you. Glad to see you've been hitting the gym because damn. Now moving on to the more substantial portion of this video, which is the cons. The issues that I had with the revival, and kicking things off is that apparently we will never have justice for Lane Kim. I hated what happened to her character in the last season or so of the original run, and that just continued on into the revival where Lane's just a mom. She's basically lost all of her personality. She still plays the drums, but like, I don't know, I just didn't like it, and I kept hoping against all hope that Dave Rogalski would just pop back into Stars Hollow and declare his love for Lane, because Dave Rogalski was the best. He was they were meant to be. And I will forever resent the OC for taking Adam Brody away from Stars Hollow. At times, this revival was just too meta for me, especially at the end when Lorelai was like, lose the, just Gilmore Girls, it's cleaner. I just hated that. Like, I am an ardent proponent of shattering glass ceilings, but keep my fourth wall firmly intact, okay? Also, this propensity to just completely drop shit that is important. The surrogacy issue, the letter that Emily found. What the hell? Like, who wrote that letter? Who wrote that letter? And we just never hear about it again. Speaking of what the fuck, the musical, the Stars Hollow musical, made no sense. It served no purpose other than to have Sutton Foster sing, which I'm not totally complaining about because Sutton Foster is amazing, but this musical had no place in the revival. It served literally no purpose. We never hear about it again, just like half the shit that happens in Gilmore Girls. But it was so irritating, and it took up so much time that we could have used for like an actual story or character development or literally anything else. Also, the fact that the revival comes too full circle for my liking. So now if you haven't made the connection, let me further beat it into your head that Rory is Lorelai, Logan is Christopher, Jess is Luke. I figured out pretty early on into the fourth and final episode that Rory was pregnant, so the last 4 words weren't a huge surprise to me, and I kind of honestly found them like, oh sure. At that point it was just so obvious that we were repeating this whole vicious cycle. And now I'm going to finally address the elephant in the room, which is that Rory Gilmore is the worst. She's just the fucking worst. In the early seasons of Gilmore Girls, I loved Rory, like many of us did, because she's just like me. She's nerdy and likes to read and cares about school. And I think we all identified with Rory Gilmore in the first few seasons. But she reaches a point when she goes to Yale and starts dating Logan that she just becomes this worst possible version of herself. She's so entitled and pretentious and expects to get everything that she wants, and the fact of the matter is that she does get what she wants. And so now as an adult, when she should have, you know, learned about the world and herself and adjusted some behaviors, she hasn't at all. There's been basically no character growth for Rory. And when Rory is with Logan, she just grossly abuses her privilege, as evidenced in the entire debacle that is the Life and Death Brigade, who I hate. BT dubs. That scene was beautifully shot, but I hated everything about it because I don't like the Life and Death Brigade. I don't like all of these pretentious douchebags. I just don't. But in the revival, Rory is just the worst. She's having an affair with Logan, who is engaged to another woman that he's clearly not gonna leave for Rory. Meanwhile, Rory is dating Paul, who she treats like shit. And not only does she cheat on him with Logan for question mark period of time, but she also sleeps with a Wookiee. So hope you're proud of yourself, Rory. But she also just expects everything to be handed to her. She's not prepared for that interview with Sandy because she just assumes she's going to get the job. She just continues this trend of making awful and shitty decisions, and no one ever calls her out on it, except Jess Mariano. Although Jess was still clearly pining for Rory at the end of the revival in that creepy window shot that we got of him, at this point I hope that they don't end up together. Like, I used to be team Jess, and now I'm team maybe Jess is too good for Rory and like she doesn't deserve him. That's where I am at this point. Like, I want all the happiness, all the best for Jess. I don't think that's gonna be Rory. And as awful as Jess was sometimes as a teen, because, well, he was a teenager, he's now obviously grown up and become a good man who's got his stuff together, and I think at this point he's just too good for Rory. But to wrap this all up, basically I really didn't like this and hope they don't make any more episodes. 0 out of 10. Would not recommend the Gilmore Girls revival. Just the hardest of passes. Alright everyone, those were my thoughts and opinions on Gilmore Girls A Year in the Life. If you loved the revival, don't come yell at me in the comments. I don't want to hear that. If you want to have a discussion about it, Leave me a comment with what you thought of it, if you agree or disagree with some of my points. Let me know what your favorite part of the revival was. I would like to hear that from you guys. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon with my next video. Bye!